Hello and welcome to the December HPRS meeting. I'm happy to have everyone here. I know that the weather outside is not the greatest, so I'm happy everyone was able to take some time and join us today. I'll start off with a land acknowledgement and then invite, if anyone has a mission moment they'd like to share, open it up to anyone who wants to share a mission moment. Otherwise, I have something stored up waiting. So a land acknowledgement is a formal statement recognizing the Indigenous people of a place. It is a public gesture of appreciation for the past and present Indigenous stewardship of the lands that we now occupy. The Anchorage Coalition to End Homelessness and the HPRS Advisory Council would like to acknowledge that we gather today on the traditional lands of the Dena'ina Athabascans. For thousands of years, the Dena'ina have been and continue to be the stewards of this land. It is with gratefulness and respect that we recognize the contributions, innovations, and contemporary perspectives of the Upper Cook Inlet Dena'ina. So I would invite anyone who would like to share a mission moment, go ahead and just unmute yourself and share a mission moment from your organization if you have one.
Hi, I'll share. This is Robin with Catholic Social Services. And one of the things that we are really working hard on, I think, is the whole kind of social and emotional well-being piece, and making sure that the folks that we serve are feeling connected to community. And so we had a small little grant, and our medical respite program took all of the participants at medical respite to go see the Nutcracker. And it was a really fabulous evening. And I think one of the really special things that happened is that there was a gentleman there who ran into an old friend. And the friend didn't even know that he was experiencing homelessness or had been in the medical respite program or at Brother Francis shelter. And just that opportunity for those two to reconnect had such a huge impact on our guest. And so he's really kind of just off on this very new journey of real purpose and intent to make, to get himself kind of back on track and to get housed and kind of join his community again. So it was just, apparently it was a fabulous night for everybody.
I love it. And that sounds like so much fun. And now I want a field trip to go see the Nutcracker. All right, moving on to the Advisory Council report. I just want to share some information about what the committees had been working on for the past month, and then also talk a little bit about what is upcoming. So the data committee had not met, but they had recently finished doing their review of the AKHMIS governance updates, and those updates were approved today. So those will be passed on that they were approved. That's what the compliance committee had been working on this last month as well, was that review of those documents. And they are looking forward to, at their next meeting, taking a look at their list of priorities and looking at where that fits in their calendar. The Community Prioritization Committee has been working on the gap analysis. And if you were able to attend or listen to the Assembly Committee meeting yesterday, the Housing and Homelessness Committee, Celia did a great presentation to them of the methodology behind the gap analysis, and then looks forward to bringing that forward to us next month to be able to look at and approve. And then last, the Coordinated Entry Committee has been meeting. They have been taking a look at the review of the coordinated entry process and the outline of how that coordinated entry prioritization and process works. And hopefully we'll have those updates out this month to be able to be approved soon as well. I would invite any of the committee, and Julia has in the chat when the next coordinated entry committee meeting is. If anyone is interested in learning more about the committees or serving on any of the committees, it is not something that you have to be an advisory council member to participate in. They are open to anyone who is interested. So please reach out if there is a committee you want to serve on or want to learn more information about. And I would invite any of the committee leads, if I missed anything, feel free to jump in with that. And if anyone has any questions, please go ahead. Feel free to unmute or put it in the chat and I can read questions out loud, but I'll give it a second for any questions. All right, I will turn it over to Meg for the ACH update.
Good afternoon, everyone. When Jessica asked for a mission moment, it reminded me of our coalition board meeting yesterday when I was asked for a mission moment. And I said my whole report was a mission moment. We are just feeling really fortunate to be in this work, especially in this last quarter. So I'm going to do these backwards. Operational updates. We are extremely focused on street outreach and getting this street outreach program stood up. And we are really thankful for our partners at Rural Cap and Covenant House. Jason Cates is our outreach manager. And also our partner Solomedics. So it's so great. We have this robust outreach team going out. We're pairing it with medics and medical services. And we're really just literally meeting people where they're at to establish this trust relationship. We're not asking for anything. We're just there to give. Now, eventually we'll layer on some more service providers, but that's not where we're starting. We are really starting from the proposition of we haven't been out here in a way that has been where we could always meet your needs. We've had to refer you or something. So we're super excited about that. If you come to the coalition offices right now, we're really just trying to keep track of stuff, inventory it. We have an app for that now. We were able to hand out just snow boots yesterday, day before yesterday, and socks and what people need. So we're really excited. Meals, and then HMIS in the field, coordinated entry in the field. Two big developments. I may have mentioned the shower trailer already, but we're super stoked about that. We're excited for it to come here shortly in the new year. But we also made a significant investment in partnership with GCI. So we will soon have a system for getting phones for clients, SIM cards, and prepaid minutes. The phones will all be talk and text. I don't know why it took me so long, folks, but it finally dawned on me, if we can't keep in communication with people, why are we doing all these other things? So communication is key. So hopefully these are some tools that will let us do that. So more to come as we figure out some of those things. If you've got great ideas, I'm really thinking through, security of the phones for the folks who have them. I hear phone theft is an issue. So really working hard on that. And also just want to give a shout out to my staff who have been working on the housing side of things, really helping break any roadblocks for housing. We've had some really good success housing some families and some single adults. And then a little bit of prevention work as well. So it really feels like we're kind of firing on all cylinders right now. And so we're super excited. Next week, we'll also publish our first ever annual report as an organization. So we're really excited about that. It's beautiful. Thanks to Sasha from our comms. It'll be on our website and it'll go out in the Wednesday digest. And finally, we are hosting a housing summit next month, the 11th and 12th, 10 to 2. We have room for 25 people in person and I'll buy you lunch and then you can get online otherwise if you don't get a spot in person. Unlimited online participation. But we really want to talk about housing. We want to talk about housing. We want to talk about leases, just all things housing. We'll be able to publish that agenda probably right after the new year. We're working on our speakers and all of those pieces, but super exciting. We haven't ever taken the time to convene for a couple of days in a row just to talk about housing. So I'm really excited about that. Emergency Shelter Task Force is robust. It's meeting. It set a really ambitious and great charter. We'll meet again on Monday to take up the current request by the municipality to increase the Sullivan by 160 beds. Really just so fortunate to have such experienced community members coming together to tackle these hard questions and really talk about what's next. What's next as we move towards April? What do we do when we have housing opportunities come online? What are the intersection of those things? So while the Emergency Cold Weather Shelter Task Force was kind of thrust upon us, we are fortunate to kind of parlay that into this really great group who want to keep working these issues, and super productive. And then last, government updates. The governor's budget just came out, FYI, this afternoon. Not sure if you've looked at it. I haven't had much of a chance to look at it. All I did was go for find the word housing. It was mentioned twice with regard to rural housing. So that's my top level look at the budget. And then here in the municipality, the big issue is whether or not the Sullivan might increase. The budget did pass in November. The unified proposal put together by a number of providers did go through. There was a little hiccup and a veto, but it was overridden and everything was taken care of. So we should be set to go into the new year from the municipal funding side in pretty good position. I do understand that there is still some delay in getting out some key grants for folks through the health department. And if we can help in that in any way, even just helping inquire and spotlight the issue, we are here to help do that. With that, I am happy to answer any questions.
If anyone has any questions, you can, oh, I see there's been a few in the chat that Taria has gotten. But if you can just unmute, you can type a question in the chat, we can read it out loud, we can answer in the chat.
Oh, yes, and I should mention, I apologize. Once the gap analysis is done, we are ready to insert the gap analysis into a draft of Anchored Home and then bring it forward to talk with the advisory council. A little bit different this year. We're going to ask the advisory council to consider looking at the draft and then releasing it for us to go do 60 days of community engagement and then incorporate that community engagement and come back again. And that doesn't mean we can't be here having some of that community engagement, but that gets at least like an initial, like you're in the right ballpark sign off, and then we can go engage with the community. And then, so by the end of first quarter, Anchored Home, I am hopeful will be updated for a 5-year strategic plan. So something very positive to look forward to in the new year.
That is wonderful. All right, well, not seeing any other questions. Thank you so much, Meg. And I will pass it off to our special guests from Catholic Social Services. We have Dave and Ariel, and I'm not sure which one of you is taking the lead on this particular presentation, but I'm so excited to have you here and excited to hear more about the Third Avenue Resource Center that I know you guys have been working so hard to get the renovations done and get everything set up so that it can open next year.
Yes, thank you. And thank you everyone for allowing us to come into your meeting for a little bit. We have a quick presentation that we're going to sort of go through and talk about first. I will be talking about some changes that have happened down on the Third Avenue campus, and then hand it over to Ariel to talk about the Third Avenue Resource Center. So I think I know most people on this call, but for those of you who I may not know, my name is David Rittenberg. I'm the Senior Director of Adult Homeless Services for Catholic Social Services. And then with me is Ariel, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Ariel Berg. My pronouns are she, her, and this is my 3rd week in this position.
But you wouldn't be able to tell. She's hit the ground running and she's crushing it so far. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. Bingo. Can everyone see my screen there? The obligatory ask there.
Looks good.
Great. Okay. So as I mentioned, my name is David Rittenberg. I'm here with Ariel, here to talk briefly about the Third Avenue campus, and then go into more in depth about the Third Avenue Resource Center. So as most of you know, Brother Francis Shelter sits on the Third Avenue campus. Open since 1983, historically been emergency shelter for individuals experiencing homelessness. We've had 240 guests prior to the pandemic, but we've been transformative over the years. We have a trauma-informed care model there, low barrier services, wide range of services, including a pre-employment program, a medical clinic, case management, laundry, showers, and then a 10-bed medical respite program. During the pandemic, many of you may know this story, but we reduced our capacity to serve individuals that had access challenges at the Sullivan Arena, so reducing our capacity to 76 beds, and have also moved to 24-hour services and providing 3 meals per day. Still providing a lot of those same basic needs services that we historically always have: the showers, computer lab, phone charging, all of that fun stuff. But we have moved to referral-based access rather than people lining up at 4:30. So as we've moved out of the pandemic, we continue to provide low barrier shelter and support services, but we have increased our capacity to 120 as of this past October. We're still doing 24-hour services, still doing a lot of those same basic needs services, as well as case management that we have sort of hung our hat on historically. And again, moving to a referral-based model rather than people lining up at the door. And the reasoning behind that is we want to make sure people that we have space for everybody that is seeking a bed. You know, historically, we've sort of run into the issue of 260 people lining up for 240 beds. And so, you know, we've moved more towards this referral-based model to make sure we're able to serve everybody, and also to mitigate any neighborhood impacts. In addition to the Brother Francis Shelter, the thing we're most excited to talk about here today is the addition of this Third Avenue Resource Center, and I'll just sort of set it up real quickly. It is going to be housed at 1101 East 3rd Avenue. For most of you are going to remember that as the old Beans Cafe building. So right across the parking lot from Brother Francis Shelter. We are anticipating, you know, depending on the construction schedule and all of that, but anticipating opening sometime towards the end of February, and are very interested in engaging partners to come down into that space and do outreach and offer services there. But I'm going to hand it over to Ariel here and have her take over and talk more about that.
Yeah, thank you. So, and many of you have heard some or a lot about 3RC already. It's a daytime engagement and navigation center for folks who are experiencing homelessness. And its goal is to connect adults experiencing homelessness to services, and also to bring service providers together into one physical space. And the model is based on successful navigation centers in other areas of the country. And this is the first of its type, definitely not the last of its type in Anchorage. And I don't think David mentioned hours yet, but right now hours are planned to be Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, with some consideration for having maybe one evening a week open, as kind of needs and working with partners develops. You can move to the next slide. So the Third Avenue Resource Center is a hub for partners, bringing them together into one space. And many of the people here have already been outreached to by me or by David to talk about potentially providing services or doing outreach in this space. The goal is to have a more connected and coordinated homelessness response system as part of Anchorage's continuum of care, and to also provide better communication coordination between service providers, make it easier for clients or visitors, and to make for more efficient resource use and provision. Next slide. So the approach of 3RC is to provide 3 layers of services. Short-term immediate needs like showers, restrooms, access to phones, computers, charging stations, and also storage. Medium being like coordinated entry, public assistance, benefits, applications, getting connected with mental health services. And then long-term are those factors that keep a person in stable housing and also create and support supportive and safe community for them. And so a note on a major barrier to accessing needs is transportation. As everyone knows, so 3RC does have a shuttle. We're hiring a shuttle driver, and that person will be able to provide drop-offs and pickups for folks coming to 3RC and leaving 3RC. That will hopefully make it much easier for folks to access services on site. And then finally, we know the needs of those experiencing homelessness in Anchorage will change with the seasons and the years. Many factors, and the homelessness response system is also an ever-changing landscape. And so we really know that we'll need to plan to change and adapt accordingly, whether that be hours or services or however. Move to the next slide. So just to summarize, the goal of 3RC is to connect visitors to tools and resources along their path to permanent stability, to foster connection and coordination between service providers, and to leverage and coordinate with services already on campus at Brother Francis Shelter. You can move to the next slide. So everyone here and many other stakeholders in the community are critical in making 3RC work for the people that it's meant to serve. So these questions up here, these are just discussion or thought-provoking questions for all of you. And also for us as we figure out, how can we make 3RC work? How can we make this community resource a success? How do you envision, how would you like your organization engaging in these spaces? And then how do we continue these conversations? So we really want to hear your feedback, and we welcome your engagement. And this is my cat, Cersei. It's half hour to their feeding time, so they've got eyes on me.
Yeah, and thank you, Ariel. And just to sort of note, the real value of the Resource Center are going to be the partners that, are providing services or providing outreach within that space. And so, we are trying to meet with any and all organizations that do direct service or have some sort of interaction with people experiencing homelessness, and invite them into the space in a capacity that is going to make sense for that organization. And so, whether that is providing outreach on site, or a place for you to have meetings with clients, or to provide services directly on site. I think one of the things that sort of really brings this home, and if I can get it to open up, is going to be this piece right here. I'm gonna go back to full screen here. We can take a look at the floor plan here. So construction is underway. It should be done sometime in the middle to end of January. We're hoping to open up sometime in February. But as you can see, we have front door here, security check, lobby area, where clients will come in, we'll do some sort of needs assessment, ask them what they're here for today. In this sort of front area, we have lockers and storage for clients if they're going to be having a meeting with somebody. They don't want to necessarily be carrying around all their bags. And then we also have some private showers, individual showers for people to use. As we move more into the back area, there's this very large engagement space, which you can see down here in the central common area too, where we have the opportunity to have classes, have groups, set up tabling, set up outreach stations, and then also beyond that, around the perimeter, there are all these private individual offices that if we're having a conversation with somebody and we need to move to doing an intake, or we want to move to having a more private conversation, there are all these swing spaces around the outside in which we're able to do that. A couple other pieces: large conference room, small conference room, and then there is this sort of hoteling workspace area that if some of our partners need to come in and do some data entry or do some computer work that is not necessarily client facing, there's some stations for people able to do that as well. The whole building is going to be Wi-Fi enabled. We are in the process of purchasing Chromebooks and tablets as well for clients to be able to sign out to do job searches or to do some basic computing that they might need. And then there will be some food there, but it is not a food security program, but sort of in the sense that if I'm having a meeting with a client and they can't hear what I'm saying over their tummy grumbling, there will be the ability to get someone a sandwich or granola bar or something like that, so we can meet that basic need and then be able to delve into some of those deeper needs. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and open it up for any questions.
Well, I don't have any questions, but I am so excited about this, and I'm so excited to hear more about what you guys are planning, and really excited to have our outreach teams really engage with you guys and have a place like that to be able to connect with people when we're looking for someone and need to have that conversation about, here, let's fill out some paperwork. And we can make copies of it right here. And, all of the things that are so difficult when you are standing outside and trying to have a conversation about housing navigation. I would open it to questions if anyone has any questions for Dave or Ariel and wants to just unmute and ask. I see Sid has his hand up.
Dave, I can't give it. There it is. It's great to see you, and thank you, Ariel, for joining them. Dave actually helped me get started with Host Sisters when I was hanging out at Brother Francis, so thank you.
Well,
So
thank you for getting
this
many
is really
people
exciting, but one of the things that occurred to me as I looked at your floor plan is the people that are going to be the most comfortable coming into the space are the ones who are about to lose their housing. They've got a part-time job. They've got a job that's not paying enough. They can't pay their bills. And 10 to 4 is a pretty tough window for most of those people. So I would just suggest figuring out how to meet that part of your population. Thanks.
Thank you, Sid. I appreciate that. I think there are plans that we're making sort of in the sandbox right now, and then as we get the program up off the ground, we're going to we're going to need to reality test some of that, and I think that speaks to the need to be adaptable. we've sort of gone back and forth between, what type of hours are going to be most appropriate for this space, and kind of landed at that because most of the connections that we're going to be trying to make are going to be with organizations that are working normal business hours. And if that's going to be, public assistance or, Alaska Behavioral Health, or a lot of those other organizations are only open during the day, and we wanted to be able to sort of maximize some of that overlap, but we also recognize that there may be a need to expand hours or have evening hours, or maybe have the schedule rotate a little bit, but we'll be closely monitoring the need as we open, and then we'll probably be adjusting down the road. But I appreciate the comment. It's definitely something we thought about. Ooh, it's quiet.
Okay. I'm not seeing a lot of questions on that last slide. I did see your guys' contact information. So if anyone has any questions they come up with later, I'm sure they can reach out and ask them.
I do see Julia has a
Oh, there
question
we
in
go.
the chat. Is there a plan for potential evening hours to include structured community building time? Julia, could you expand on what you mean there?
Sure. Sorry, I typed it because I had a screaming child in the background, but she stopped screaming. So I was just noticing that community space, the flexible community space that you have in the center of the room, I think that's great. Sounds like you're going to have some docking stations for people to charge up. I'm just wondering whether there's been any thought put into time for people to gather if you do end up having evening hours where people can access resource, where they can also maybe do a craft together, or have a meeting in open space, just the kinds of things that we know keep people housed when they are first getting into housing, includes that connection to beloved community. So thoughts about that, curious to hear.
Yeah, so that's definitely something that we thought about and we're open to. As I mentioned before, the real value of the resource center are going to be the partners that we bring in. And if we connect with a partner that wants to do a craft thing or some sort of community building, or we're also talking to organizations like AA and NA about the potential to do meetings potentially after hours. It's really going to depend on what we're able to staff, because we have to have CSS staff there if the building is open, but that is absolutely something that we're open for and are hopeful to make happen. So no other questions. Just to wrap up, I'll go ahead and send, we have a couple of handouts, and I will go ahead and send those to Jessica. Would you be the right person to send those to, so you can distribute those to the group? That has
Yep,
my
that's fine.
contact information on it. We'll also include Ariel's contact information if anybody has any follow-up questions or is interested in getting engaged in the resource center and having your outreach team come down or provide services, or whatever you might imagine yourself engaging in that space. Please don't hesitate to reach out.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Oh, I'm so excited about this. I've been excited about it for a while. And when I first saw those mock-ups, just so excited.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. All right. Well, moving through the agenda, we don't have anyone who is set up or signed up for any pre-requested public comment time, and I'm not seeing any comments or questions in the chat, but would invite anyone who just has any comments or questions that they'd like to give, go ahead and unmute, and you can ask that. or you can put it in the chat and we can read it out loud. All right, not seeing anything. We will move to the good news and community events. Same thing, feel free to unmute and share any good news or celebrations that you or your organization might have. If you don't want to unmute and share out loud, you can just type in the chat. We can read it out loud. Well, I have one that I'm working to pull it up right now that I just wanted to share, and Meg talked about it in her report a little bit there, but just wanted to share how excited I am for the outreach pop-ups that we've been holding, and just wanted to share that for the next few outreach pop-ups, we're actually distributing boots. So I'm really excited to share that good news that we were able to purchase those much needed items and get those out to people who are experiencing unsheltered homelessness right now, especially looking outside and the snowbirds that are over my head, helping people to be safe and warm if they have to be outside in these elements. And if you go to the ACH website, there's a section on there that has the times and locations for those pop-up events. And then would also share that if you are interested in volunteering to help put together any of those outreach kits or do anything related to outreach, Jason Cates is with ACH, and he is the outreach manager, I believe is his title. And you can reach him. His information is on the website, and let him know that you're interested in helping out with that. All right, moving to the next month's advocacy opportunities. December 20th is the next regular assembly meeting. So that is from 5 to 11 p.m. Held at the Lusac Library and also live streamed on YouTube. January 4th, the first Wednesday of the month, the Housing, Homelessness, and Neighborhood Development Commission, or the HAND Commission, meets. That is from 4 to 5:30 p.m. and it is down at the Health Department Conference Room on 8th and L, or you can also participate via Teams. The agenda is posted in advance on the Health Department website. It's not the Health Department website, it's the CED website for you to look at. The Assembly's Committee on Housing and Homelessness meets monthly on the third Wednesday of the month. So the next meeting for that will be January 18th. That also is typically held in person and via teleconference from Assembly Chambers. And then our next meeting, back to the fourth Thursday of every month. It was on the third Thursday this month because of the holidays, but in January, we'll be back to the fourth Thursday of every month. And that is held from 4 to 5. And if you have any suggestions for presentations, or you want to make a presentation, you can email Emily and Mitch at info@hprsadvisorycouncil.org, and we can get you on the agenda. I would invite anyone who has any other advocacy opportunities, if you want to share, feel free to share. We do have a little bit of time here at the end of the meeting, but otherwise I would invite everyone to visit bethechange907.org for volunteer opportunities if you are interested in those, and happy holidays to everyone that is celebrating a holiday this month. And happy snowshoeing to everybody who is excited about all of this snow. And I feel for everyone's back who is having to shovel all of this snow. All right, well, we will wrap it up a little bit early today then. And Julia in the chat, yes, do not shovel if you are over 45. But
I've already
thanks,
sent
everyone.
that to like 20 people, so there may be more snow in the road.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Have a great evening and we will see you soon.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good evening.